if your tongue is tight, which a lot of us adults have had tight tongues and we just didn't realize
Right.
it's contributing to our neck pain. It's contributing to how we're aging because everything is pulling this
Yeah.
way. If you've had a C-section, things are also pulling this way. If you've had heart pain, grief, you're probably pulling this way. Your posture, everything. So
Yeah.
emotional, everything in all of that is a signal to the nervous system, to the body, and it can create dis-ease because when the body feels like it constantly has to be in a state of fight or flight or bracing for protection, it just isn't in an optimal state, and things don't flow as well, and things that can go wrong, have a bigger breeding ground.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Alday Townsend, your host. This podcast is for doers, dreamers, and those trying to decide what's next. I, along with amazing guests, will be sharing stories of success, failure, and what's to come. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Alday Townsend, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. The podcast has a variety of different episodes. We do quickies and we do guest appearances. Today's guest is Holly. She is with Hollystic Alchemist, and her focus is craniosacral treatments as well. She launched her company in Bradenton, and I follow her on social, and she has so many tips, so many tricks. She does a lot of healing. She services adults and children, and she's going to be sharing a lot of great information today. She'll also be sharing her journey. So I want to encourage you, if you are a mom, you are a CEO, you're a wife, anyone, to tune in and listen because you're going to learn a lot of great stuff today. Holly, thank you for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
And I just want to say too, we met just recently, like last year, right?
Year, yeah.
And I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. It seems like your business has taken off and you're doing so much greatness.
Thank you.
And I just love being surrounded by women in business, for sure. So, okay, I want you to tell the listeners a little bit more about the services that you offer as well and how you're helping people.
Okay.
Because like I said, I'm watching this on social. I'm seeing all this greatness that you're doing, but it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, and if you're new to it, it is a lot. So it's craniosacral therapy, which is a mouthful for everybody, so don't feel bad. And it was a mouthful for me when I first started. It's just that I'm so used to saying it now. And I learned about it because of how much it helped me go through a healing, which we can talk about a little bit more in depth later. So I knew how beneficial it was for adults and how much it helped the body reconnect and reorganize and innately heal itself.
Right.
I had no idea how important it was for children, how much it could have helped my baby when he was an infant.
Right.
So a lot of things having to have you ever heard of like tongue ties, oral ties with children? So a lot of moms will struggle with these things, and it almost seems like it's a new thing. Like I know my mom, grandmother was like, what is it with all these tongue ties? Essentially what it is fascia that we have all in our body is connecting. There's deep fascial lines, and the tongue is part of a big one that connects all the way down to your toes.
Okay.
So it's the fascia that's holding all the muscles and the bones in place.
Okay.
If there's tension in the tongue, it's pulling on so much more in the body, and the body can't fully extend. So you're seeing things like colic, you're seeing things like, speech issues once they get older, airway issues, snoring, mouth breathing. These things turn into bigger issues. This is like a whole new world for me that I had no idea was going to be so relevant.
Yeah.
And so my work has just kind of evolved because of the need for it. But that's kind of how it came into the whole picture too. So craniosacral changed my life from the moment I had my first session.
Okay.
And that was what I just knew I had to do. And now, here I am. It just was born of my own desire to help others. And now I get to help the whole community. So I'm really excited. And I'm so happy that you've seen it grow and you're watching it continue to, because it's been a dream.
That's amazing. I love that you took something and became passionate about it and now are doing that full time as a career.
Yeah. I know. It's a dream, honestly. Like it could have been such a nightmare when we get into that part of the journey. But yeah, it's a dream come true.
That's awesome. And it deals with energy as well, right? Because that's what Genesis was talking. She was like, the movement and the body.
So we have so much. I mean, first off, the fascia has only recently been kind of not discovered, but like in 2018, they were like, oh, there's this new organ in the body, the fascia. And since then, they're like, oh, it's actually piezoelectric and it holds memory. And if you compress it, there's certain things that turn on charge. Well, our body holds on to memory, and we are energetic beings.
Right.
And we have an aura and a biofield. So yeah, all of this deals with all of that. So craniosacral is actually working on the restrictions in the cranium. We have 22 different bones that are in the cranium, and there is a fluid that goes between that's called your cerebral spinal fluid. It's what your brain is sitting in. It's what it's being bathed in at night when you sleep, that's carrying out toxins and proteins. That's your lymphatic system, goes to your lymphatic system. So if any of these things are blocked by fascia, tension, emotional things, if you've had surgeries, a lot of women who've had C-sections, breast things done, all of this is going to create lymphatic blockage, fascial blockage. The scar tissue is going to create different conductivity in the body. And so now those emotional things, the chemicals, the toxins of all sorts are coming in and don't have a proper way to channel out. So this is helping the body find clear pathways so it can do what it naturally knows how to do. It just needs a little guidance.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna have my husband totally bought in. Can you help my snoring?
It can help your snoring. So the thing is that snoring has to do with the fact there's a couple things that go into play. So you have your cranial bones, which the midface especially, there's a lot of tiny bones.
Right.
And they can get squished. So right now, if you were to feel the roof of your mouth with your tongue, is there a ridge down the middle? Do you feel it coming down, or does it feel pretty smooth?
No, I have like a bump.
Okay. So that is actually because the airway has gone up and that hard palate is actually crunching. So ideally, we'd want that to be flat so that the airway has more room. Because otherwise the bones are going up, it's going to make less of an airway. And then your body's only choice, especially if you sleep on your back, is to recess the chin. There's also a whole new group of people that are starting to look at the fact that babies who are sleeping on their backs, their chins are recessing, the fascia is pulling down, and this is contributing to even more airway issues, which honestly makes sense because everything in the body is responding to repetition.
Okay.
So even when I was a massage therapist, which I started my journey before craniosacral just because I needed that to do this.
Right.
You needed some form of license to touch.
Right.
So when I did that, it was like you understood that a hairdresser is going to have, tension here because they're constantly overdoing stuff with their arm, right?
Right.
But in the same way, if we can give the body repetition of there's space to come out, there's space to move, that can actually help the body remember that, oh yeah, I have more space that I can move out in this body of mine. And that allows everything to flow more freely. When things can't flow freely, that's oxygen, that's blood flow, cerebral spinal, lymph, everything.
100%.
So yeah, it's kind of affects all the different areas of the body.
That's super interesting. So I had a deviated septum and I had surgery on that and then it collapsed. So it's like I only use my nose like 20% to breathe.
Oh, wow.
And it's a struggle to breathe. And at night, obviously, is really, really hard.
Yeah.
So
Do you have to sleep with any type of device or anything?
I don't.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're not there yet.
I don't know that those things are the best things anyways. I mean,
So this cupping thing that you were doing on the face that I'm seeing you do as well, is that creating more space and more airway?
Yep, it is. So that's not going to be in the same category as craniosacral because it's not as much body-led dealing with a different mechanoreceptor. But what we're dealing with here is opening up the fascia that is stuck. I mean, the fascia goes like a big web all over, and especially on our face, on our head, it tenses, it tightens. If your tongue is tight, which a lot of us adults have had tight tongues and we just didn't realize it, it's contributing to our neck pain. It's contributing to how we're aging because everything is pulling this way. If you've had a C-section, things are also pulling this way. If you've had heart pain, grief, you're probably pulling this way. Your posture, everything. So emotional, everything in all of that is a signal to the nervous system, to the body, and it can create dis-ease because when the body feels like it constantly has to be in a state of fight or flight or bracing for protection, it just isn't in an optimal state and things don't flow as well and things that can go wrong, have a bigger breeding ground.
Oh my gosh, I'm coming to see you next week. And I just want to bring everybody to you.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the work that you're doing, like I said, I've been following you and I keep seeing this. And I literally watched all of your videos and I look at your post and I keep thinking I need to go see her. And this is so powerful.
Yeah.
And so people know about this or they don't know about this?
It depends.
Okay.
So I had never heard of it when I discovered it, but this was 10 years ago. And honestly, this area, I don't have to explain it very much. People just know. I mean, because one, we have a lot more holistic people that are looking for different ways of healing in this area. But we also have different practitioners who look at things different ways. So for instance, in airway dentistry, that's like a new branch of dentistry, is to look at your teeth in a way of, oh, if we pull your teeth and if we put on braces and if we do this and we're not really thinking about the whole body picture, what happens to the cranium when we pull those teeth? Well, it's connected to everything else. So now everything's going to start to narrow. So a lot of us had teeth pulled when we were younger, braces, maybe permanent retainers, etc.
Yeah.
This is all like a breeding ground of tension in the body, a signal that I think has caused even tension for our newborns, because the newborns that I'm seeing, it doesn't matter whether or not their moms had wonderful holistic pregnancies, wonderful births, or if they didn't.
Right.
Both babies are having tension in the body. Maybe it's a little different, but both of them are. And I think we're having like this almost epidemic of oral ties and tongue ties and all of that, when these are just outward signs of what we can see of how much is really tangled inside.
Right.
And if we go and get those things handled for those that are listening who have had these things with their babies, it's really important, and it's only kind of now just starting to become more prevalent in awareness.
Yeah.
But we can't just snip or laser the tissue and be done.
Right.
There are stretches that go involved. There's aftercare with a body worker, a craniosacral therapist who can help the body continue to unwind, because that's what craniosacral also helps with, is fascial unwinding. It's allowing of the body to naturally release where it knows how to. And if you're just doing this, the body now has to create new scar tissue, which is going to disrupt everything. So you want that to reorganize in as much of a gentle way as possible. Anywhere outside of this area, for the most part, it's like, what is that? What does it do?
Okay.
And so I do have to explain those things to some people, but I live in this like world where it almost seems like everyone I know all over the world knows about this. And then I will go into like a local group in, Central Florida where I used to live, and I'll suggest it for something like a herniated disc, because I had somebody in my office that literally had gone to chiropractic, PT, was still suffering with this herniated disc, one session, and they were feeling so much better. I think that's because, especially if you're hypermobile, and a lot of people are discovering they're hypermobile now, your connective tissue is different. So if you're going to a chiropractor, if you're doing certain things and it's not working, I think it's because the fascia needs to release in its own way. It doesn't want to be told what to do, which a lot of these other things are kind of making the body do something.
Right.
This is more gently holding space and allowing the body to go, oh, okay, I can relax into this. And it can relax as it needs to, while still knowing that it needs to hold structure for the body this way, for this reason, because it held it that way for a reason because of everything else imbalanced. But I'll get people that are like, oh, this is quackery, it's pseudoscience. And I'm like, okay. It just makes me laugh, especially when I suggest it in like mom groups that might not be close to me, but I'm like, their babies are suffering. And I've decided to stop poking my head in those groups, because people will only hear what they're ready to hear.
100%.
So I just post and I let people know that these are, colic is not a real thing.
I had colic as a child.
So did my oldest
Struggled
brother.
with it.
My mom had such a hard time with him, and she was a new mom. She was 16.
Yeah.
So that was like so tough. I mean, she's a single mom, 16, no help, like you made your own bed, lie in it kind of thing.
100%.
That's what she got. And she had a colicky baby that she didn't know how, doctors were like, well, he'll grow out of it. They don't grow out of it. They become bigger compensation patterns. Your body is wise, so it will find ways to adapt.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that problem went away.
Right.
And the colic is a sign of fascial tension in the body. So it doesn't necessarily, it might have been because your tongue you might have shown tension, but we didn't know those things back then.
No. Yeah.
I have like DC photos from when I went on a trip in 8th grade, like sleeping on the bus, mouth wide open, just embarrassing stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize there was actually a problem with that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not really a good thing.
Okay, superficial question. Can you help with cellulite?
Yes. I love that you asked that. I don't talk about it often because I love talking about all things that are not like that way, right? But my gray hair, like I'm not, but yes. And the reason why is because when the fascia is stuck in our it's made differently anyhow around the muscles, we do need some help in that area. So it's not going to make it where it's magic and it's gone, but it's going to give space so that things can move through. And a lot of times that's lymph congestion, and it's a lot of fascial congestion.
Okay. Yeah. So it's hereditary in my family. And like my mom has it, and my mom has worked out. She hikes. She's in her 60s. She's always had it. And just like in the last few years, and I always think, God, it's maybe because I was so stressed, or maybe all these things I don't know.
Emotional play in that.
What's compounding it. But literally, like in the last 6 to 7 months, it's having a party. And it's not a very good party.
Hormones are also loaded with like chemicals, emotions, epigenetic factors. And so another thing I deal with is frequency. And that's also very big because we are energetic beings. We do have miasms and epigenetic things that are holding in our body that express, so a lot of parents are seeing their kids these days and they're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I think the kids are starting to feel the nervous systems collectively of the people are starting to feel safer to expose what's really been going on.
Yeah.
And our kids are literally like expressing decade or, generations worth of stuff now. And it's coming through in a lot of different ways.
Right.
Primitive reflex retention, all of that stuff plays into brain-body connection. These are all things I had no idea about. I'd be speaking a different language to myself 5 years ago, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just been a path of, also as a mom, figuring out not only how can I help these other babies, but we did all these things that we thought would avoid things that were going to be, and we're still there, or we've been. So craniosacral has been so helpful in nervous system healing. My son had a traumatic birth. We weren't planning on that. We thought we were going to have a home birth, beautiful tub, My water broke. I was in Jersey at the time. Jersey only allowed you 24 hours to go into active labor if your water breaks first. So if you're not in active labor by that point, you have to go to the hospital because they are concerned about, certain things, water drying, etc. They had just changed the law that week to 48 hours. So my midwife, good friends with the OBGYN, was like, listen, is there any way we can exchange, He said, I'll make you a deal. Have her come up here. Let's check her out. If things look good, she can go home and try again. So we did that. But any mom who's gone through trying to have a home birth and then there's a disruption and it just, yes, now I'm not in my home. I'm in a bright light space. Pain was increasing. Like for me, I'm super sensitive. That was all a lot, but I got to go back home. So we bumped it up. I mean, I loved being at home laboring. I got to eat whatever I wanted. I know there's so many women that are in the hospital and they can't eat because they're afraid that it's going to create complications if they end up having to go into surgery, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
I ended up having to have an emergency C-section. My son was not responding well to anything we were doing. I was not progressing, so he ended up having a hematoma on his head. And, at the time, all I was concerned with was, I want a vaginal birth. I don't want a C-section. So when the doctor was like, well, we can try to suction him, I'm like, okay, 3 times. Knowing what I know now about the spine, the cranium, there's no way I would have done that. But I didn't know that. So all of that, super traumatic for him. He had troubles latching. For him, he had a tongue tie, a lip tie. So when they can't flange the lip up, put it all the way up. If there's a tethering there, that's going to create issues with them latching. And he had cheek ties. These cheek ties didn't go away until we had them released when he was 6, just like, I don't know, about a year ago almost, or almost 6. And now he's like eating chicken wings, eating steak. These are things he wasn't eating before. And we thought he was being a picky eater, which to a degree, perhaps, because his nervous system was like, I can't handle all this sensory.
Yeah.
His cheeks were literally like, I can't handle the chewing of steak or chicken, it's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's traumatic.
Yeah.
And I have friends that do home births, right? So it's like you have this whole vision.
Right.
You've already manifested how it's all going to happen. And then to just have it changed like
what's
that.
Great is like, I'm a manifesting generator. I don't know if you know anything about human design.
I do.
Like, okay. So, and I'm great at visualizing things. I think that's one of my biggest gifts, actually.
Yeah.
I had a hypnobirth. I had a doula. I could not picture it. I had no idea how that was going to happen, like from my body. And I think I honestly halted my ability. My body just couldn't open. And my fascia had been through things too, because I had been on my own journey, which we can go into what led me to this. So I was 25, and at that time in my life, super disconnected with my body. I mean, I worked out, I was healthy. I worked in timeshare at the time in Orlando, and that was a super toxic environment. I mean,
the pressure.
It was fun, but it's a lot of, I would like have sweaty palms and armpits just going to pick up my family because I knew it was my job to like sell them, I know it could be a good thing for them, but it's just that unnecessary pressure. It's inauthentic, and it's just, my body was like, this is not in alignment, but I pushed through. I didn't know how to listen to my body's cues at that time, so those things didn't matter.
Right.
That's like telling your child, shut up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you push that down, your body eventually is going to be like, okay.
It's going to absorb it, and you're going to get sick.
And it's going to eventually scream.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot going in my life at that time. I had been married, divorced. My parents had gotten divorced. Parents had split. Mom was going through her things. Dad was going through his things. I was basically by myself. I owned my own house. I was making good money. I was fine though, but I wasn't. I was seeing the doctor my OBGYN for birth control, and birth control also created a disruption in my whole system. So like my stomach it's not like I was having digestive issues, but it messes up your gut flora.
Right.
sorry for the men listeners, but I was having chronic infections that I needed to have the doctor help me with. So I was in his office a lot. And he goes, you're getting close to that age of like the HPV shot, the Gardasil shot. Like he'd bring it up every time I was in his office.
Right, yeah.
Like, and I was in his office so often, but I was in sales and he just never sounded like he really believed it.
Yep.
And I was just kind of like, I'm good. Like, and I wasn't anti anything. I just was like, it just doesn't sound like I need it. I'm good. And then I had an abnormal PAP.
Yep.
So they do a LEAP procedure, which I know now you don't really need, in my opinion, you don't need to have those things done. Those will generally go away 90-something% of the time on their own.
Okay.
However, not saying that you shouldn't, but you go through that whole process, your body's going to respond to what you,
Right.
So I went through that. They tested it, huge piece of my cervix. They bring me into the midwife's portion of the OBGYN's office. I've never even met this. I didn't even know he had a midwife. I go into her office. She does an ultrasound. She explains to me, you're in your childbearing years. The chances of you having more abnormal PAPs and having to get this procedure done are really high. You were precancerous with the test. You should get this vaccine because if you don't, you're going to have to keep getting these procedures done. They're going to keep cutting your cervix, and your cervix is the only part of your body that doesn't grow back. That's not true, by the way. But she told me that it wouldn't grow back and that basically your cervix is what holds in the baby. So if I got pregnant, the baby might not make it full term because it wouldn't have anything to hold it in, or that they could tie it. But the picture was gruesome. And I was just like, okay, sold. Like, you got your other person, your TO came in. That's what it felt like, like in timeshare when the second person comes in. I'm like, all right, tap out, I'll get it. It's a 3-dose series. So first dose, second dose, I might have had something, I don't know. I wasn't really connected with my body. If I had a headache, I was popping 3 Tylenol to avoid it. It might have, I probably needed water, just super disconnected. And by the 3rd dose, within 2 weeks, I was waking up with this feeling like I was being punched in my stomach. So this I couldn't explain it. And I started to become super nauseous. My heart was racing like crazy. And I was in the bathroom all the time. I had no appetite and I was losing rapid weight. I thought I had an ulcer. So I was in the ER quite a bit, urgent care, but checking all the things, nothing wrong. Now I'm in specialist. I'm seeing a gastro, they're checking endoscopy, colonoscopy, doing all the things. They rule out all the major autoimmune diseases, no Crohn's, no colitis. That's wonderful. But at that point, this was like 12-ish years ago, maybe a little longer, they didn't know what else to tell me. So they were like, we don't know what, maybe it's IBS. And there's no real cure for that. There's at that time no medicine for it, thank God, because if there was, I was in a place where I would have taken it.
Right.
Had it helped at all, who knows where I'd be. But the doctor just looked at me so like sad. I remember him being like, are you stressed at all? And I remember them telling me psychosomatic on my paperwork, sometimes when I go to the hospital, because everything showed that I was fine. And I remember my mom being like, well, maybe it was the vaccine. And I thought, no, why would a doctor give me anything that could hurt me? I mean, I totally blew it off. And it took me 4 years to make the connecting dots that was, the timing was just too coincidental.
Yeah.
But you look at the breeding ground of my nervous system prior, that was the tipping point.
Right.
And I think that's why it matters where people's nervous systems are. And that's why some can react a certain way. And our nervous systems can only handle so much. It doesn't matter
100%.
what it is, whether it's emotional trauma, physical, whatever. So yeah, that really wrecked me for a while. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I lost 40 pounds in 2 months. I was 98 pounds. I couldn't work. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Like it was the one time in my life that I was like, I'd rather just go home and be with God, because what am I here for? This was so hard. And then somebody suggested craniosacral. And I thought, this sounds ridiculous. So somebody's going to put the weight of a nickel on me and I'm going to like release things in my body and I'm going to feel better. But I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I called this girl. She explained to me there's like a compound effect that takes place. So one session would be good. It'd be better if you could get more, if we could do a couple within a month. Okay. So my first session, I cried and I had no idea. We didn't talk,
Yeah.
I had no idea why I was crying. I wasn't a crier, like at all. So that was weird. And she had no idea. She had like no real, she was just there to hold space for my body. I left with an appetite that I hadn't had in 4 months. And I was like, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, how did you do this? I want to learn. I knew right away, this is what I was going to do. So even before I was fully like healed, I was like, the world has to know. So that's how I got introduced to this work. And then it was just a whole journey of all of that. We moved down to Florida in 2020, and I started to see a lot of people go through fearing that they, needed to get something that they might not need to get or didn't want to get. And I just remember feeling like if your nervous system is fearing it and you're already scared, like I was concerned about how their body would react
100%.
because of what I knew.
Yeah.
And I wanted people to know that they weren't helpless and hopeless.
Right.
So I found myself like messaging people all over the world when they were having reactions to let them know like they weren't, I didn't want them being gaslit. Like, yes, this is what's happening. Let me help you find a craniosacral therapist. I was helping people find therapists all over the world. And then it was like, why aren't you moving your life? Florida, New Jersey, nobody was working for the state during COVID. So it's not like I could move my license right away.
Right.
But after like a year of doing this, it was like, what are you doing? So
Right.
I started my business a few years ago just because it was like,
why not?
time.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank
and
you.
I feel like so many people can probably relate. I remember going to the gynecologist and they were suggesting getting that. I never got that vaccination. I worry about vaccinations, to be honest. And, I don't want to put a bunch of things in my body because I truly believe that our body can heal ourselves.
Yes.
And like with the right health and care.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the book, The Body Keeps Score?
Yes.
I love that book.
Yeah.
I gift that to people all the time,
that.
actually, because the body does hold so much and so much trauma. Like when I was going through everything with my husband, I couldn't even move my arm because I was storing so much of that negative energy and that emotion, like literally just to move my arm. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to start writing. And that's when I started like journaling and going through that. And then I ended up with shingles and I was like, oh my God. And it was just everything was coming out of me because I was keeping everything bottled inside and those emotions. Like, I've got this. I'm going to keep it together. It all comes out in the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
and it either comes out because it has had enough.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when your body finally feels safe. So sometimes people are like, I don't get it. I'm in like the best relationship of my life. I'm, not having to worry about finance, whatever.
Right.
Why is it all happening now? Because you feel safe. And I think that's why we're seeing our kids in a certain light now too, because collectively they're like going through epigenetic eons of trauma that they're now, body is like, I feel safe enough. Your generation is strong enough to handle it, although I think some of our parents might not think we're strong enough.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I can go. And as soon as I have a weekend off where I can actually relax, that's when I get the migraine. That's when I feel sick because it's my body finally has time to like actually crash and burn.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate to this. So, okay, so let's talk about how to help people.
Yeah.
And like, what are some signs or what are some signals or how can we become more in tune with our body to understand what we need? So
I feel like everybody probably understands that their nervous systems are like, we just live in a time where unless you're actively doing something to regulate it, you're probably not regulated just because that's how it is. Even just lighting, right? Like stimulating of lighting can really offset nervous systems. So we're noticing that with kids, like you can't have fluorescent lighting around some of them. And we are beginning to realize even certain foods affect them, stuff like that. So signs for adults would be, obviously if you're having like jaw pain, physical headaches, back pain, if you know that you're crashing, like if you're having digestive issues or anything where you just feel like your body isn't being heard. Like there's a lot of people that just know they're like not at their best and they're really not sure what to do about that. And it's because you can go to talk therapy all day long.
Yeah.
But that's not going to move the things through the body.
Right.
We also don't move the way we used to move anymore.
Definitely.
It's not even just like movement. It's like dance and twisting. The fascia wants to move.
Yeah.
We don't do any of that. We don't sing. We don't hum. Those things are vibrational ways that we can help our fascia, help our nervous system. And we've just kind of become disconnected with those things. So I think it's really just those little cues that help us remember. And then we begin to realize our body isn't speaking a random language. It's very precise. We just haven't listened because we've not been taught to. I mean, I can remember working and being like, I can't pee right now because I'm about to close a deal.
Yeah.
And then I'm there 2 hours later still having peed. And I drank so much coffee. And it's like, that's just a signal. Every micro point of that. Pee when you need to pee, rest when you need to rest. If you need to listen to like Beautiful Chorus is a band that or a group that I love. They basically just do these beautiful mantras. It's for women and they harmonize these mantras. And one of them is like, if I need to rest, I can choose to rest. And if you need to have that on repeat to help yourself know, because we have to reprogram ourselves. The world says go, go, go. The world says hustle. You have to do this. You have to do that. But I've noticed that when I feel that way, I'm not in alignment and things are harder. I can make things happen, But if I can rest and go back into an aligned place, things flow to me. I think that's kind of the whole secret.
Yeah.
I named my business what I did because, one, I was looking at holistic different ways to help my care. And I was like a spin on my name, but also because I could have easily drowned in what happened to me.
Right.
Easily. There were many times where it would start to get better and then I'd have flare-ups. I now know the flare-ups were because I still hadn't learned what my body needed. Like, maybe I'd be really hungry, but I'm like, I don't feel like getting up to, like, my stomach hurts. I'm so hungry. And so I just want to sit here. I'll just sit here instead. And I won't go to the kitchen because I don't really know what I want. I don't really know what feels good. And then before you know it, you haven't eaten even more. And now your
Right.
body's like, what the heck? I would go through moments of that, which would literally spiral me into flare-ups. I'd start to lose rapid weight. Nothing would sound good. I'd go through something called art, which is something they didn't have a name for at one point. So I just felt crazy. But now they're diagnosing autistic kids with this. So I'm like, okay, well, I've had this. It's called avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. Essentially, even like things that you would normally love just start to taste weird. They start to feel weird in your mouth, and you literally can't even salivate enough to swallow your food. It is the most bizarre thing. And so I mention this because there are parents that have kids going through this and they don't understand. And let me tell you, if I didn't go through it, I'd be like, it's in your mouth. What's the problem?
Yes.
Swallow it. But they can't. I mean, just a couple years ago, I went to France. I was invited to go on a trip for a Mary Magdalene pilgrimage, which, like, I didn't even know why I was feeling called to go. I was asked to go and I was like, that's so like out of left field for me, but I kept feeling to go.
Yeah.
So I went. But it also was a huge, like, I'm leaving my family. I'm going by myself. I don't know any of these women. This is a lot for my nervous system. I've been through quite a bit. This was a lot. If I sleep in the wrong temperature, it can be like, it's just, I accommodate myself differently. So going away can be hard. This place was hot. I was sweating through the sheets. I was going through like detox symptoms, I think. So I was getting pink eye. It was like I was ready to go home. I was getting pushed to my brink of and the trip was beautiful. It's just I was having experiences.
Yeah.
And I remember purposefully bringing certain snacks that were safe things that I knew just in case I wasn't agreeing with the food, or
Right.
because sometimes things can sound good and then they don't. And I was suffering biting pretzel sticks just to have some type of carb because there was no like salivation going on. I was having to swallow water and just like boluses of pretzel.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous, but I'd have to force that because I now know if I don't do that, I suffer even worse. And so I know these parents and these kids are struggling, and it's all nervous system based. So once I was able to go through that and my body was like, oh, you have my back? We can go through really extensive. And I asked for help. I got what I needed. My body was like, oh my, we are a team. And now, like ever since then, a lot of expansion has happened in my life too. And I think that's because my nervous system was able to go, we have capacity now.
Right.
We can move out. We don't have to stay small, because when you've gone through a lot, you do feel like you have to stay small.
That's interesting. So a young lady that works for me, eggs, she used to eat eggs and now cannot eat eggs because she's saying because of the texture or something. So
yeah, sometimes eggs can be a little too eggy. I get it.
yeah, I'm gonna have you talk to her on the way out. She's at the front desk right now. And I think she likes eggs. She just can't eat them. And I'm wondering if it has to do with the nervous system and all of that
Absolutely
stuff as
can.
well. Not that you're going to diagnose her on the way out. But
No, and I don't diagnose, but yeah, it's still, all of that stuff is usually nervous system related. And that's what we're starting to see. And it's like, oh, it makes so much sense now that we're seeing it, but it just took us a long time to see it. So.
And you have to be open-minded. I feel like, so I stopped going to doctors, like with
Unless you need
the
to.
system. I don't go to like the system.
Right.
We have medical insurance. I never use medical insurance.
A car accident or got to surgery, but
okay, I have it. But I don't believe in that care. I don't believe that it's authentic. I don't think it's for the best. They just want to always prescribe. And I'm someone that wants to fuel my body and my body to heal naturally. So I use a lot of holistic care, and I go to a lot of different places, and I have supplements and do acupuncture and the whole nine. And I'll be doing your treatment as well. But a lot of people aren't as open to it, or the financial commitment is a struggle. So how can we encourage people, if they really do need this care and this really would help them, how do you actually get them to do it? Because there's so many reasons, red tape of why they cannot.
There is, and all I can say is you just can't. You can't make somebody see the way to be able to get it done until they see it. So for me, I was over there really selling stuff I owned just to pay my bills. There was no money to afford something that insurance wasn't covering.
Right.
Insurance, I was filing bankruptcy because of how much I was having to go and get procedures and different things to figure out what was going on. And I couldn't work. And so, money was tight. And I found a way to do it because when you really want to heal, you will figure it out.
100%.
And that's kind of the only thing I can really say. Insurance companies don't work with people like me. And to be honest, I don't want to work with them. And so as much as I feel for those that are like, I have to pay for this out of pocket, when you want to heal, you will find a way, because I promise you, as somebody who has had to pay for it in a different way.
Yeah, 100%.
You will pay for it in a different way and you'll lose everything. And when you don't feel like there's a reason to eat, pay your bill, like you start to lose a lot more.
Right.
Figure it out now before it's too late. And when it comes to your kids, if you're noticing things like mouth breathing, dark circles under the eyes, gummy smile, like my husband's like, I love your gummy smile. He's been telling me that since we got together. Little did I know that was actually this is a red flag.
Oh, okay.
You don't want like the buccals. You see how they're dark on the sides? You want your teeth. You want your teeth to go all the way. Most of us do, because most of us, our jaws have been shrinking, and it's not just because of dental. It's also because we're not chewing as much as we used to. We have a lot of pureed foods. Baby foods came into the picture. Then we have a lot of people making things more mushy, and kids aren't chewing as much. We're not expanding our jaw. We're not learning how to stretch our tongues. A lot of just anyhow. So if you're noticing those things, or if you have a baby and you're having issues, they're not sleeping, they're seeming fussy, they don't, seem to be able to latch, all of those things are red flags for body tension. And it doesn't go away. It affects airway later on, because if that body tension is pulling, those cranial bones are never going to expand where they need to.
Right.
And if you're seeing crowding in the teeth and you're looking at braces, those are only restricting those cranial bones even more. Okay, you have straight teeth, but at the cost of telling the whole body that it's got something on it.
Right.
And, that does have an effect on the entire nervous system. So
I feel like everybody needs to know about this.
I know. I'm trying.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me ask you this. Is this all work one-on-one, or is this like group therapy type of thing where it's like I can just grab all my girlfriends and say, we're going to Holly's?
I love it. So this stuff is more individualized,
Okay.
I will say. There's a lot of stuff that can happen in session. So for some people it varies, and they might just be like, wow, that was really relaxing, but I don't really know that I felt anything. Because sometimes it's the integration and the work after.
Right.
And it's not even necessarily something that has to be witnessed on the table by somebody else. But in that moment, you've created the space, I've created the space. That alone is a message to your whole system. And we are there together for you. That is a whole message. If you're there as a group, different message.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vulnerability and stuff that can come through. So I love to do my sessions one-on-one. That being said, I have done group sessions for teaching people how to just do self-cranial maneuvers, because some people don't realize they could literally help their jaw pain, or if they're having, sinus issues, being able to help release their temporal bones. There's little things you can do for
I feel
yourself.
like a lot of tension in here. Like this is even sore in here right now.
And that's probably even lymphatic stuff that's being tightened from fascial tension.
Yeah.
You have a huge muscle there called your sternocleidomastoid, and your fascia wraps around every single muscle fiber and the bundles. So when the fascia is tight, and that SEM is already like a thick muscle, it's so easy to get pulled in even more, especially because it's in charge of our forward head.
Yeah.
It holds a lot of emotion, and it gets tight, and it holds lymph. So it's like a whole picture.
Oh my gosh, I need you to come talk to all my parents. Honestly,
I would love
really
to.
would love for you to come and talk to them. I mean, I have all these parents, and a lot of them, you're a parent. There's so much stress. There's so demand. Like, it's like parents are competing with parents. Then it's like they have all their kids and they want all their kids to be doing all the things. There's so much pressure. And then you have the kids having all of this pressure because the parents have all this pressure because of the other parents, and then the expectations. Oh, I want to scream for everybody, right? And so I just think it would be so powerful for you to come in and educate. And I think that just what you're doing is amazing. I'm like, do you have Thursdays every Thursday, 9 a.m.? I would love to get booked. And I would love to bring my husband as well, because I think the work that you're doing is amazing. So if you could think of one thing to tell our listeners, either the work that you're doing, something that you could become aware of, or something they could do to help with like creating the space needed, what would that advice or tip would be?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing that parents can do is notice when they're feeling dysregulated.
Okay.
and realize in those moments, do you see that your kids are mirroring you? Because I know one thing for sure. I'm like, what is going on? But I'm good at hiding my anxiety. Your children feel it. And then they act like crazy psychos. And I feel like it's super important for the parents to remember that their systems are the co-regulated piece. So if you're noticing your household is out of balance, even in a marriage, even if it's just you and your partner, you might want to look at the fact that you two are co-regulating yourselves together. Do some nervous system work on yourself, because that's how you help influence. And this is literally, whether it's your family or the world, this is how you create those ripple effects. And it's how we can co-regulate each other, period.
I'm in awe. I mean, honestly, I just love this. I'm so glad that you came and had this conversation with me. And like I said, I've been following you and I've been like leaning into everything that you're doing. And yes, I'm sold. Not that you were selling me by any means, but all the things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And like I said, even just like with the breathing, the mouth breathing, the tension in the jaw, everything that's being pulled, like I feel like I'm aging at such a rapid pace. Obviously, I'm like hormonals. I'm in my mid-40s.
Right.
Like trending is like premenopausal right now. But I'm also thinking like I'm doing a lot of the lymphatic brushing and the oils, and I'm doing
That's good.
red light therapy. I have a sauna. There's like all the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I would just love to add you to the routine for sure.
I would love that.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I would love for you to tell our listeners, how can they contact you? Tell them it's your business, what your social is, so that they can follow you and engage.
Okay, so I'm Hollystic Alchemy, and I'm in Bradenton, Florida. You can follow me on Instagram at The Holistic Alchemist, and you can book with me on my website at holisticalchemy.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope this episode was inspiring, educational, and I think that I just know that I just love the work that you're doing, and more people need to know about it. So please consider sending this episode to 5 of your friends. I think all of us could benefit for the information and the knowledge that Holly has to give to us as well. If you're in the area, Sarasota, Manatee, Bradenton, Parrish, and beyond, Holly is located right off of State Road 64. She has an office there. And if you have any opportunities that you could get her in front of others, whether it's parents, whether it's a stage, I definitely believe the work she's doing needs to be known by all. I think we can all benefit from that. I truly do believe that. So please send this episode to your friends, share it on your social. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to today's podcast. I want to inspire you to send this podcast to 5 of your friends that you think would benefit.